Now, another thing I'd like to tackle with you, and this includes both major and minor chords, is what I'm going to call a harmonized scale or a chordal scale. And this is really interesting. I'm going to turn to the keyboard for a minute and show you something about what this is about. Now, if I was going to play a scale on the keyboard, starting on C, of course we know that there's no sharps and flats, and it goes right up in that whole step, half step pattern we talked about. Let's say I want to turn those into chords and go up as 3-note chords. Now, a regular triad in C, C, E, and G, that's a major triad. If I wanted to build a chord with the same relationships going up to the D, now suddenly that's a minor triad. So the natural occurrence of a chord built on the second degree of the scale is a minor, or a D minor in this case. Same thing if I go up to E without using any sharps or flats. That's a minor chord. But now when you start building it on the F, the fourth degree of the scale, that's a major. Okay? When you go to the 5th, it's also a major. But the 6th is a minor. If that was a major, it would sound like that. So let's look at that again. We got C, then we have D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and then the B is kind of a 7th, which I'll show you on the guitar, and then we get back to the 1, a C major. So in any key, but let's stick with C right now, it's 1, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor, 7, which is a 7th or a diminished, which we'll see, and then back to 1. Okay, let's look at that same chordal scale now on the guitar, again starting on C. But if we take the C chord, now the next chord in this sequence is going to be a D minor, and then an E minor, an F, G, A minor. Now I like to use a G7 here, and back to a C. Now that wasn't very scale-like, it seemed like just a chord progression, but if we move it up this way, C, D, E minor, F, G, A minor, and this A minor, by the way, is just like a E minor with a bar, except I'm just playing 4 strings. And then I'm going to play this G7th. Now this is your G7th the way we have done it before, but I'm adding this note here. Or what is that? If I was playing the D7 down here, it would be my 1 note. If I move it up, I gotta move that note up. So that's a G in the bass. And then I can play my C in my F shape here. So once again, watch this now. Coming back down. is your A minor, G, F, E minor, D minor, C. And by the way, sometimes I'll play the D minor with this, doubling this F here. And one interesting thing to notice is that this is the same note as an F6, the same chord as an F6. So D minor and F6 have that in common. If you put the F in the bass, it could be either chord. So once again, C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A, G, 7th. Now this could also be a B diminished. You could play it like that. And then C. Now, when you're working on songs, these chord shapes, or at least the fact that the 2, the 3, and the 6 are minors, makes a big difference in trying to figure out how songs will be harmonized. And so it's really good to remember how this works. And there's some really interesting things attached to it also that I want to show you. But that's the first thing. Let's try this in another key. Let's just try it in G. Okay, G is the 1, 2 is A minor, 3 is B minor, 4 is C, 5 is D, 6 is E minor. I'm playing it here to get that higher sound. Now we need a D 7th, back to a G. A minor, E minor, C, D, E minor. Then I can do D 7th here or D 7th here, and then back to a G. And there are a lot of songs built on this chord progression, at least part of it. You know, you wouldn't have the whole scale, but you just do, 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 do. A little high for me there. Do, 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 and so forth. So there you see that going up the scale. And the Beatles here, there, and everywhere. You'll come across that in a lot of songs. If you do it in C, there's an old folk song called the Erie Canal, the Erie Canal, and Erie was a rising, and the gin was getting low, and I scarcely think we'll get a drink till we get to Buffalo. We could go up. Scarcely think we'll get a drink till we get to Buffalo. So those kinds of things, or if you want to come down from a, let's say a 5 chord, in Bob Dylan's Buckets of Rain, which I love to play. You go the love, honey, baby, I can stand. I got the 5 chord here, which is a B, 4 chord, 3 minor, 2 minor, 1. Da na 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 na. So you'll find there are a lot of uses for that, at least parts of that harmonized scale, if not all of it. But it's important to know which parts of the scale are major and which parts are minor. And I'm going to show you something else now that you're going to be able to use for a lot of different things. Let's stay in the key of E for a minute and look at this harmonized scale in the key of E. This is, you got to pay close attention to this because there's a lot of stuff in here. Okay, I have an E, which is my 1, F sharp minor, which is 2, that's a whole step up, another whole step up to the 3, which is a minor, and let's just play 4-string chords now. F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A, B, C sharp minor, B 7th. Oh, you can play the E that way or this way. Let's come back down again. Okay, I hope you followed me on that. If you're doing it with full bar chords, you do it like this. And then here wouldn't be a bar chord. You can't get a bar chord up there either. Or you could play the bar here. Okay, now let's inspect that a little bit closer. Here's your E. Now if you just took the first and third strings of this F sharp minor, well, those two notes are the same and can be substituted for a B seventh, which is your 5 chord. See that? So you can play it like this, or you can play it like this. Now if I move this up here, these two notes, again I'm only playing my first and third strings now, could also be part of a D-shaped E chord. Following me? D, D sharp, E. So I can go 1, 5, 1, 4. Here's your regular old A, B. Now this, which was a C sharp minor, could also be an A, a 4 chord. This could be a 5 chord, which it was before, and here's your 1 again. Now watch this. If I just play the first and third strings, I have a really pretty harmony there. Now the way I usually play it is I play my first and third strings with my second and third finger. You could also bar it, but I like to do it this way. Move it up 2 frets. Then you can play this little F shape. I'm only playing 2 strings though. 2 frets higher. Then the same position as this, except up here on the 9th fret. Same thing, 2 frets higher. And come down again. Watch this. You could actually play bass notes. Now here you'd have to bar it. So let me review that little harmonized scale on 2 strings right now. I'm just going to be on the first and third strings. I'm starting on E, or an E chord. Now what I'm really playing here is a harmony of 6ths, which means that my scale is really going up on the first string in my normal whole step and half step pattern. Here I'm playing a harmony of a 6th below. This is a G sharp. Normally G sharp is the 3rd above, but if you count down, you'd find out that the G sharp is a 6th below the 3rd. And this is going up in the same half step and whole step patterns, except since it's starting on the 3rd or the 6th, then if you think of it as the 3rd, as a half step between the 3rd and the 4th, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. So it's the same whole step, half step pattern, except starting on the 3rd. So it starts on this, it's part of an E chord. This is part of your F sharp minor or your B seventh. This is part of your G sharp minor or E, either one. This is part of your A, part of your B, and this is your either a C sharp minor which is your 6 minor, or it could be part of an A chord. And here's part of your B7th, or B, and back to your 1. So once again, and practice this with this fingering, because it really helps to finger it the way I'm fingering it. And you see that smooth transition. I'm just sliding up my second finger 2 frets. My first finger comes down 1 fret behind it. So you want to be very smooth with this. And come back down again. Now since we're in the key of E, we could put in an open B in the middle, and the B would fit just putting a drone in there. It doesn't really work if you stop. There it works. Sort of works there. Here it's not quite, but it's close enough because you're moving. And you can also put in the bass notes. Or you can here. Now, how would you use this? Well, you can put this to almost any melody that's in a major key. I'm thinking about somebody else is strumming along. You can go. Do a little improvisation in there, or just about any melody. Now when you get to the 7th fret here, the 5th degree of the scale, this could either be part of a B chord or your 5 chord, or this note here is also part of your 1 chord. So you might have to bring that up into like what would be an A shape, if you remember from earlier. So sometimes you might go, instead of your 5 chord, it's your 1 chord. Just making that one note. We're only playing 2 notes anyway, so just making that one note makes the change between a 5 chord and a 1 chord. This is your F shape, and this is your A shape. So, for instance, you could take a song like, you might know, now here I just had to come down to a lower note, so I played a B with my bar, just like we did. Remember we did that earlier also. Sure, you know that melody, The Gift to Be Simple. Simple Gifts, it's called. Now something like that, if somebody else is playing a rhythm, it would work out very nicely. Or you can figure out some bass notes to So this is just an example, and one of the things about this that you'll notice is that if you start seeing somebody playing, you'll be watching anybody from Eric Clapton to any guitarist you might happen to watch. At some point during their set, you'll see something and you'll say, wow, I know what that is. That's part of that harmonized scale. Everybody uses it. And it's very, very useful, especially if you start getting really comfortable with it. Now let me just show you how you can do the same thing in other keys. Of course, you can always just raise everything up just like we did before. Here it is in F. Everything's up one fret. But let's say we want to start it in C. Well, it works very nicely starting here with here's your C note, and again we're going to go up the scale, and here's your harmony, and so it's this shape. Almost the same. I'm on the second and fourth strings now, of course. You could also do the same thing by going, these two notes are the same as these two notes. This is your G and your E. And then you can go to your F and A and just come up. Again, here you can either play this as a F shape or a shape. If you want to get the one chord, it's a one chord. So and if you want to do it in the key of D, start it there. If you want to start it in G, so I'm going a little fast now, but I just wanted you to see all the possibilities of this. And as you're going through your songs, as you're thinking about things, it doesn't have to be the whole song, of course. You can just put that in to some thing you're doing. As a harmony. Whatever it is, I'm just making this up right now. But I think it's something that you can use and practice that, get smooth with it. Try to slide up. Into those notes to sort of make them real smooth. One thing I should mention is that, again, just like in the key of E, these chord shapes could be different things. You could go from the one chord to the 2 minor and get that harmony, or it could be part of a G7th chord, because that's your 7th note there. Then here's your 1 chord, your 4 chord, 5, or the 1 chord could be a minor. These should be the 4 and the 5. And then here's your 6 minor. And then here's your G7th and your C. So, or G7, C, F, G, A minor, G7th, C. So think about those in terms of the chord shapes as well as the sound of the scale. And again, use it, different songs, just try to be aware of what they are and how you can incorporate them into your music. Enjoy that.